Hey guys, I'm coming to you from one of the most dramatic scenes of the American Civil War, the surrender of the Army of Northern Virginia by Robert E. Lee. He surrenders to Ulysses S. Grant and the Army of the Potomac here at the McLean House. Now a little history on Wilmer McLean, who owns the house behind me. Wilmer actually lived just outside the city of Manassas in 1861. Now, why is that relevant? Well, in 1861, July 21st, 1861, that is, the Battle of Bull Run or Manassas occurs, the very first one. It occurs in his front lawn. He is actually known to say that the Civil War began in his front lawn and ended in his front parlor. He's very true about that. But what happens here? Let's talk about Appomattox. So Appomattox, April 2nd, 1865, federal forces have broken through the Confederate lines around Petersburg and Richmond. The Confederates have retreated. Now, Grant has been chasing them. There's been battles at Sailor's Creek. You've had fights at Jetersville, all the way west. Lee is moving west. He would love to be able to cut south and join up with Johnston's army in the Carolinas, but he can't do that because Grant is on his heels. He'd like to make it to the mountains if possible. He can't do that. Grant is on his heels. They arrive here at Appomattox around April the 8th. There's a fight here at Appomattox Station where the Confederates try to break out. It doesn't happen. There's actually a fight on the morning of April 9th where Confederates once again try to break out. They can't do it. They're down to some 20,000 men versus Grant's army of well over 100,000 that's chasing them with the Army of the Potomac. So what will happen is April 9th, that morning, after the attacks fail, Lee sends out a flag of truce. He sends that out knowing that he is going to have to surrender the Army of Northern Virginia. That surrender will happen right back here. Lee will come out onto the steps. Grant's troops, including Grant himself, will salute Lee, and they will show honor and respect to one of America's greatest generals as far as tactician and fighting. Lee will then go right back to his army and explain to them that he has surrendered them. The next day, April 10th, they will come through and they will be paroled. They'll actually line their arms up, stack their weapons, stack the flag, and it said that as they brought the Confederate battle flag down, many of the men's tears were wiped onto the flag. The day after that, they will surrender the artillery, and then the men will be paroled and they'll be allowed to go home. And Grant is known as unconditional surrender Grant and things of that nature. He's very, very good to the Confederates here. He wants to bring them back in. He's going along with what Abraham Lincoln wanted, which was to bring the Confederate states and the Confederate troops back into the fold of the United States, to reunite the country. As you drive into Appomattox, you'll see where the sign actually says "Where our country reunited." Now, many people believe this is the end of the Civil War. This is not the end of the Civil War. The Civil War does not end officially till 1866. However, there's no fighting up until that point, but there is fighting that's going to occur after the surrender at Appomattox. You're going to have Joseph Johnston down in the Carolinas still. You're going to have armies out west still fighting. So all this it doesn't put the nail in the coffin, but it puts the lid on it. The rest of the nails get drilled in later or hammered in later. But this is the beginning of the end. This is the main army that's always in the public's eye, that's always there. The Army of Northern Virginia, Lee's mighty army, the mightiest Confederate army that was in the field. And this is where it ends for them. So just pan around a little bit. As I said, the McLean house behind me. You can go up this way. There's going to be fighting that occurs up along this ridge. As a matter of fact, as more federal troops come in, there's a North Carolina monument that's up a little bit farther where North Carolina troops were fighting, attempting to break out of the surrounding Union armies to try to make it west and maybe even south. So very cool place to be. As you can see, the McLean house behind us again. Straight down is the actual courthouse. This was a small town, and if you go farther down, you can actually see the place where Lee and Grant meet, and then where the Confederate Army is received by the Union Army as they come up. And the Union Army, even during that surrender, actually, they take off their hats. They show respect to each other. They've been fighting for 4 years, but they're still countrymen. So a lot of lessons that we could actually use today that happened over 150 years ago. We need to stay united. History's not dead. History doesn't need to die. We need to remember it and keep it alive. So keep chasing history. I hope you enjoyed this video, and get down here to Appomattox. It's a very cool place to be. Thanks for watching.